Okay. Boy. You know, one type of money that people never, ever consider, especially city people, it's this neat stuff. It's made out of wood. It's got leaves on it. It's called trees. I just talked to a buddy of mine who's a logger, and I thought it was going to be 28 trees, but he ended up harvesting 42 trees off of my farm. I need half the money just to pay bills, and the other half to actually buy some prepping supplies, some stuff that I would actually use and consume anyway. It's not like, well, you know, if I'm not going to use it and it's not needed, then I wasted money on that. I'm actually extremely efficient that way. I've actually put my money, by the way, what very little money I have, where my mouth is. I've said many times, I've actually sold everything not glued down that I don't need to work and to live and whatnot, and sold it and bought land and things. I am nothing shy of 100% certain that everybody should be, and I don't tell anybody what to do, it's none of my business, that they actually should be preparing themselves. Even people that are not any type of, and the word prepper is extremely loaded, just like the word conspiratorial or conspiracy is extremely loaded. People have been actually telling people to do that. I've been to make this What's Going On videos, which are apparently incredibly popular, evidently very popular. Even though they're not monetized and I don't make a single penny off of them. Last week, and I didn't do it last week because I was still collecting data on a few different fronts, and I wanted to see how things panned out. By the way, everybody keeps asking me about where I get my... I don't get any kickbacks or anything, okay? I've looked at a lot of different places. You can find a few bulk places you can actually get seeds cheaper, but I've looked into it. Unless you're buying a super massive amount, you can't get them any cheaper from this guy. He's on eBay. I've got a lot of success with him. His name is Great Basin Supply on eBay. This is about 1.5 pounds of alfalfa sprout seeds. How much food you can extract from this is absolutely astronomical. I mean, this is not much bigger than a handful of seeds, alfalfa sprout seeds. My other favorite is mung beans. You can actually fry them like a burger, to garnish things. You can make these tasty, you like add a few ingredients, make these, not that I'm a veggie burger sort of guy. I mean, I had 3 burger patties today. You know, what I ate today had a mother, you know. I'm not about veggie burgers. They're really tasty mung beans, but this small amount of alfalfa sprout seeds is enough to feed, not that it would be the only thing you want to eat, a large family for a really long period of time. It's quite astonishing how much greens you could actually get from this. Wanted to point that out. I recommend anybody that's actually planning on putting stuff away, there's nothing more compact, more long-lasting. And I know about the decline rates of seeds, and it's actually a lie that you need to freeze them. This is not true. There's been enormous amounts of studies on this. They only need to be kept cool and dry. I mean, cool in a dark and cool environment. They don't need to be frozen. That's a total misnomer. Turns out the death rate after a decade and 2 decades is nearly identical between frozen versus just cool and dry. So people, I don't know if you know what happened. I don't want to talk about it specifically since that's off of limits on social media. But I predicted this with 1,000% accuracy. Yeah, I know 1,000% is technically impossible. People are getting more desperate. Insanity is escalating. What's going on in the world is driven people that were like, living on the edge as far as their sanity, making a break with reality. It's actually pushed them over. Mental health issues, craziness going on in the world, and it is quite extreme. But I wanted to do this video, and I read every comment. It takes a long time, especially on these type of videos, because there's an enormous amount of comments. But I love reading them, and like every 10th comment or so, I'll get a vital piece of information that I'll actually look into further. And that's the reason why I actually make these videos. I saw something quite horrific up in Canada. There were armed guards leading children into something that would have just a decade ago been 100% illegal. Like, you would have called the cops, except there were actually cops leading these the world is really turning upside down and back. One thing I want to see pan out, and this is news that came out 6 days ago, Kenyan President Ruto said that, and it is not about the petrodollar, that was actually another comment. He does have inside information, whether it's from China or Russia, I don't know, and neither do you. President Ruto of Kenya said that he told all his peeps, his people, to get rid of the dollar. He said demand will, he basically implied it would be turned upside down or erased in a couple of weeks. So we got a little over a week left before to see whether what he said was true or not. And I know the Kenyan, what is it, the Kenyan, I forget the name of the currency in Kenya, excuse me. I remembered it, but I've forgotten it when I'm thinking about 1,000 things making these videos. It's basically worth absolutely nothing. But that doesn't appear to be connected to why he was telling everybody to get rid of their dollars. And I've talked to a couple of Kenyans, and they say they love to be paid in dollars, but they like to pay in the native Kenyan currency. But this is also, too, of irrelevant why apparently he's warning of this. Russia, by the way, is sending a extremely large number of tactical nukes to Belarusia. It's easier for me to say that in Russian. In English, it sounds weird when I say Belarusia. Belarusia. So I warned everybody 1,000 times over, not only would he invade Ukraine, but no, he's never going to invade. It's like, yes, he is. But also, too, I warn people, whatever you think of this guy, it's none of my business what you think. I don't care what anybody thinks, feels, or believes. This guy does not have a reverse gear. As a genuine expert in Russia, I don't proclaim to be an expert in Putin, okay? But I do know this guy does not have a reverse gear. He will sooner throw himself head first into a deep grave than he will back down. And, that's no different than committing, samoubistvo, as they say in Russian, which means suicide. I mean, if he were to back down, he doesn't have a reverse gear. UK is sending over DU. I don't know if you know what DU is. It's depleted uranium. It's not radiological, but it has a lot of the same properties as lead. Lead is depleted uranium, by the way. Super depleted uranium. But it's, when you fire this stuff, it destroys the ground. It causes birth defects. It wrecks the water system. So the UK and probably the United States government, if not Germany also, I don't know if it's Germany, but definitely the UK and certainly probably the United States, we're sending over a bunch of DU, depleted uranium. They're used as armor-piercing munitions, actually, but still it's savage on the environment. I don't care what anybody thinks about the United States. A lot of people ignorantly, unfortunately, confuse capitalism with corporatism. They see corporatism and they think that's capitalism. It's not. This is capitalism, meow, and over here is corporatism over meow. But what's going on? I consider myself incredibly patriotic American, but I'm interested in facts, logic, and wisdom. I would be the first person to point out any issues in the United States. In the past, when the United States dollar was threatened, which the petrodollar is, the United States has found some way, one way or the other, to go to war. You all love to quote the fact that all wars are bankers' wars. Well, I've known that since day one. That is absolutely the case. The United States is 100% on collision course for war. How that will manifest, or what sort of face that will take, I don't pretend to know, but I know for damn sure it's absolutely coming. I'm surprised more of you are not surprised about Credit Suisse. I grew up investing. It's not really an investment. It's asset diversification now, not an investment. Precious metals, did a lot of research into Credit Suisse ages and ages ago, even before I started doing YouTube videos. People should have had the hell shocked out of them about Credit Suisse failing. The many entities cooperated, especially the Swiss government, to keep it from failing. UBS was brought in. They infused Endless, was it $54 billion, and they gave UBS a $100 billion credit limit. All these, in other words, the entire government of Switzerland would have imploded, folded up like a cheap card table. If it were left to its own devices, not only would it have imploded, the reverberation would have traveled around the world like, 5 times within a matter of 24 hours, as far as it's way worse than we thought. I'm surprised more of you are not shocked at all, nor do you care. I mean, they're putting, one person accurately quoted it, and I quoted them, that Band-Aids are flying around like crazy so far as the banking sector. France is not making the news at all. I'm watching and getting all sorts of interesting videos from people in France. Vive la France. Here we go. My French is really rusty. Je ne parle pas français. Je parle russe très très bien. France is on fire, quite literally. And it's completely off the hook. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I could never overstate some of the shocking video. Some of the funniest and yet still shocking video, people are in the cafe sipping their cafe lattes, just like calmly talking. And you can see behind them, through the windows, she's just like, everything's on fire. Nobody's picking up the garbage. A lot of the stuff is closed. And all of this is over, well, there's many reasons, but the primary reason they're giving is increasing the retirement age by 2 years. And I understand why the French are protesting, but one thing nobody's pointing out, no offense to the French, is that these people have become completely hardcore addicted. Like some of these people on the streets that, have a hat out for coins, and, they got track marks on their arms, and, they got big black rings under their eyes. They're just, they're completely addicted to a substance, whatever that substance may be. No offense to the French at all, but you all are completely addicted to free handouts. I mean, if that happened here in the United States, say pensioners, 2 more years, retirement. I mean, with people, yeah, but I mean, we're not addicted like, the guy that's got track marks on his arm on the side. So France, I'm sorry, you have become irreparably, you really aren't irreparably, but I mean, essentially irreparably addicted to free handouts from the government. This is what happens when you rely. Nobody should rely on or trust any government. I don't care which one it is. They're all bad. Some are better than others, but you can't get addicted to the government and their handouts. I love it. And by love it, I mean like laugh my butt off. Like some Swedish and Norwegian people over the years say, well, we get free health care there, thumb in their nose. And I don't care if anybody thumbs in the nose in the United States. I could care less. I tell them, there's no such thing as free health care. It's completely ridiculous. Free health care does not exist anywhere on this planet. Sure it is, it's free. It's like, yeah, what are your taxes again? What are your taxes again? Please tell me again, what are your taxes? Oh, well, I forgot about that. Oh, really? Tell me again about free health care. The most expensive health care on earth is free health care. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, or Benjamin Netanyahu's efforts to overhaul Israel's judiciary has caused many, many threats, including actionable threats that have been going on, of protests, huge protests and strikes going on. What's going on in France is absolutely mind-boggling. You should see some of the video. It's quite incredible. They've even talked about, not me, other news outlets that have authentically and objectively examined it. They said that there could be a complete removal of the government of France. There's all sorts of protests going on in Germany, Israel, France is on fire. Denmark people have given up. I've heard from a bunch of Dutch. They've given up. They've told me themselves that they've given up. It's like, what are we going to do? It's over with. Western society is folding up like a cheap card table. Whatever anybody thinks of Ukraine, I've been to Ukraine several times, Simferopol, Yalta. Very, very beautiful. Most beautiful place I've ever seen on Earth, including a fantasy forest that looks like something out of a movie. Like that movie Legend, where unicorns and fairies are, coming out from behind it. I've seen a forest that is as unbelievable as that, and it's real, and it's in Ukraine, in Crimea, of course. What anybody thinks of Ukraine, one way or the other, there's 100% corruption going on there. The United States government does not care about Ukraine. No way in hell. It feeds many different things. It gives us a warning to China, and it's an attempt to have a proxy war with Russia, obviously so. It's feeding all sorts of financial interests that are absolutely off the hook. The military-industrial complex, their fangs are dripping with extreme joy and delight. They're happier than a pig in poo. The military-industrial complex, or the MIC. There are many, many masters, most of which are evil. Many, 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 many masters that are being served by the United States, sending massive tons of cash and military equipment, hardcore military equipment to Ukraine. Many masters. It doesn't just serve one purpose at all. Oh, it's just a proxy war with Russia. It's like, if only that were it. If that were the case only, well, all of this money and military equipment would not be traveling over there, at least not to that proportion as we're sending over there. This is a planned collapse. Remember when people used to make fun of the idea of central bank digital currency? Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's not going to... Now there's not a single person who hasn't had their head firmly planted in a dark place that can't confirm this from countless government sources all over the world. Australia, New Zealand, the United States, on and on and on and on. Same is true of 15-minute cities. I'm not going to comment on what sort of compliance. It depends on, whether one is a citizen or a subject. Are you a citizen or are you a subject? As to what level people are going to comply. Most people today, unfortunately, very unfortunately, as they say in Russian, очень жалко. Жалко. Isn't it a pity? What a pity. Oh, a pity. Everybody's a spineless jellyfish. I was going to say douchebag, a D-bag, but that's a little too hard. Everybody's a spineless jellyfish. Nobody has a pair anymore. Oh, Australian bank boss, ANZ chief Shane Elliott, he's warned the nation to brace for higher banking costs and extreme likelihood of financial crisis, saying households and businesses are yet to feel the impact of recent overseas banking turmoils. This is, like that engine in your car that's run out of oil and you're hoofing it down the highway and it's 90 degrees outside. Your engine's over here, things are starting to knock. Hey, no big deal. Make it, pop the hood and check the oil at the next gas stop, which is like maybe 90 miles away, right? Right now we're hearing the engine knocking. A few people that know a lot about engines that are in the back seats, like, oh crap. Oh, hey, you gonna be fine. We'll check it. We'll pop the hood, check the oil at the next gas station. It's okay. Wait a minute. Where's it at? Here we go. There is a whole lot of that going on. I mean, I'm really shocked that people were not shocked about what happened to Credit Suisse. This whole entire earth would be in economic turmoil if 1,000 Band-Aids did not fly at the speed of light to patch up, support, backstop, and plug Credit Suisse. It would have gone off the hook. You get your dad in the old hat in the front, and doesn't know really jack about cars. We'll check it at the next gas station. We'll pop the hood and check the oil there. Meanwhile, the engine expert in the back is like, oh crap. You ever seen an engine go when it runs out of oil and it gets really hot? It literally, the rod or the piston will fire, like old Yellowstone, like Mount St. Helens, right through the engine block and it'll shoot right through the hood. I'm not an alarmist. If that sounds alarmist, I can see why you could see that, but I mean... Anyway, Australian bank boss ANZ says this, but there's been a lot of other people that have said this too. There are some of these mega billionaires, and I know the nefarious things that they do. Even though they're super rich, they're still greedy as heck. Very greedy. And what they're trying to do is scare people into selling off stuff so they can get a fire sale. They're trolling the streets while there's blood in the streets. They're trying to get more people to sell so they can pick it up really cheap and make themselves a ton of money. But even seeing through those people, which I can see through like a piece of transparent tissue paper, this is actually going on. The United States has a serious mortgage and renting crisis. Australia's is even way worse than the United States. Tons of Aussies have told me about this, including my buddy down in Sydney. The Aussie Bogan Kaba. Bogan is like Aussie slang for a dumb goober, even though he's not a dumb goober. I was just picking on him. I love learning Aussie slang terms, especially the naughty ones. That Australia's renting system and mortgage is broken, quote, broken beyond repair. It is that bad here in the United States. People have become completely disillusioned at the idea. It's the reason why I made that video a few days ago about how you could actually get a land and a home for $30,000 or less. But if you buy like a regular home in an established city, I mean, you're just out of luck. I mean, you could work until you drop dead. You're never going to make enough money to even buy a little dinky house. It's gotten that bad. People have become incredibly disillusioned, and it's like 1,000,000,000 times worse, not literally, 1,000,000,000 times worse in Australia. I was looking at some of the graphs, and it's astonishing. It's mind-boggling. There would be one entity that I could talk about. It's a rock, and it's slightly dark in color. Wink, wink. A rock that's slightly dark in color. Wink, wink. Yeah, I better not discuss that group. Kind of a very nefarious, very evil entity that's kind of buying up everything in sight. Going to turn everybody into the whole world is turning into what like a West Virginia or Eastern Kentucky coal mine was back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. You're getting paid in garbage. Cryptocurrency and CBDC is garbage. It's poppycock, twaddle nonsense, hooey. You're getting paid in poppycock money, twaddle money. And unless you spend it right away, they would actually, some of the bigger coal mines, they'd change the money after a certain period of time. So if you didn't spend, you couldn't hoard it. You're like, I'm going to save up money and get the hell out of here. It's like you couldn't do that. You're an indentured slave. There's a song written about it by Ernie Ford. Was it, "Oh, my soul to the company store." You should look up that song. You're paid in money that was proprietary to the coal mine or the coal mine consortium. You could only spend the damn money, not in town, but at the company store. So you just made just enough money to like eat and keep a roof over your head and nothing else. I mean, that's just the definition of slavery. What's going on globally right now and what these people want, whether they're going to get away with it or not, depends on how spineless and what a spineless jellyfish you are. They want to basically make the world into like the coal mines were in West Virginia back in the day, and Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky. Pay you in nonsense money. Nonsense money. It's like, you got to spend it here. You can't spend it on that. You got to spend it within X period of time or it expires, kind of like a piece of bologna in the refrigerator. It's got an expiration date on it. You got to spend it. Make yourself as independent as possible. That includes food, protection, isolation from others. If ever you thought, this is the one time I recommend somebody do something, yeah? Ever you thought about buying a piece of land, whether it be 2 acres or 5 acres or 50 acres, what the hell are you waiting for? None of my business what you spend your money on. I don't tell anybody to spend on something one way or the other. You just don't. Yeah, by the way, these, if they're kept cool in a dark, cool place, they will outlive you. Say you live another 40 years, okay, 15 to 20% of the seeds have gone bad. 15 to 20% of the seeds is like this. There's still an astronomical amount of sprouting seeds here. It makes an incredible amount of food. Look into these. Yeah, it's called Great Base. My favorite, called Great Basin Supply on eBay. I get no money from them, no kickbacks, okay, just telling you who I buy from. I love mung beans, I love alfalfa sprouts. If ever you thought about getting land, what the heck are you waiting for? A lot of the stuff I predicted years ago, it's some of the stuff I thought, surely this isn't going to happen. Oh, it's already happened. But I've been right on everything so far. On this, how I knew people get more crazy and more desperate, and there'd be more mental health and sanity stuff going on, and there is a lot of people, and it's staged. You can't do it all at once because people will resist. You know, there's this quasi-liquid. If you punch it, it's kind of like Jell-O. It's made out of oats or whatever. It's not liquid. It's not a solid. But it depends. What every government in the world is doing right now is exactly like this liquid. If you want to stick your hand through this liquid, I forget the name of the liquid, you can slowly stick your hand through the liquid, no problem, kind of like Jell-O. Very, very, very easy. But if you punch it, boom, it'd be just like you're punching a brick wall. That's what every government is doing right now. They're doing it in stages. Make you weaker, more compliant, weaker, more compliant, weaker, more. If you try to do it all at once, it'd be like, trying to punch that stuff is like hitting a brick wall. But if you want to go through it with your hand and do it, like this, no problem. No resistance, essentially no resistance. So everything is going exactly according to plan. But the way the plan is going is not to your benefit, and it's not to my benefit. So what are you going to do? Whatever you're going to do is up to you. Prepare, get seeds, and say no. Do not capitulate to tyranny. But that's just my position. Whatever you choose to do is your own decision. Lux Veritas, I read every comment. Let me know what you think below. And have a lovely week. Goodbye.